So I'm here with some of the gentlemen from Dawn of War 2, and they're going to discuss the game, what's coming up, and what they do there.
Hi, I'm Johnny Everett. I'm the lead designer on Dawn of War 2.
And I'm Mark Noseworthy. I'm the producer on Dawn of War 2. So we'll give you a bit of an overview of Dawn of War 2, what we're trying to do. So obviously we're building on the original game, the original Dawn of War, right? So with the original Dawn of War, we tried to make combat far more brutal and realistic than ever before. Guys weren't just getting hit with little swords, they're getting knocked down, and dudes are getting picked up and crushed and tossed across the battlefield, right? We also wanted to really emphasize getting straight into action, right? You don't have to spend a lot of time resourcing or base building. You're really always on the front lines of combat. And then the third thing was just over-the-top units and over-the-top abilities, just orbital bombardments that could just level entire areas and just really, powerful, powerful units. So we're carrying that forward in Dawn of War 2. Now we also developed a game called Company of Heroes, which we think revolutionized the way units are controlled on the battlefield, because they have a sense of self-preservation and self-awareness. And they have a really intelligent AI that allows them to take cover themselves and react to the battlefield. And so the cover-based combat and destructible environments of Company of Heroes, we're going to be building on those with Dawn of War 2. But if we were any other company, that'd probably be enough for a sequel, but not for Relic. We're always trying to swing for the fences. So Johnny's going to tell more about where we're taking our TS into the future.
Yeah, like Mark just said, best of Dawn of War meets best of Company of Heroes, but on top of that, we're adding a new type of single-player campaign where you get to command an elite strike force on a quest to save the galaxy. Now, what we're trying to do with this campaign is we're trying to fix three things we think are broken with RTS. First one, we think players are sick of starting over. Spending 60 minutes building up a massive base, massive army just to leave it behind. Freaking sucks. So our first rule for this new campaign was no more starting over. You carry all of your progress from one mission to the next. Second thing we want to do is we think our players deserve better rewards for playing our game. So we're constantly going to be showering the player with rewards, new unlocks, new weapons, new types of abilities for your squads. Final thing is we really want to drive up the sense of attachment you feel to your squad. So what we're doing is we're giving you this elite strike force, the same group of guys you command in the first mission, it's the same group of guys you're going to command in the final mission. Anyway, we're hoping this combination of things is going to be that kick in the pants that RTS has needed so long, and it's going to attract new players to the genre.
We're very interested to hear what you guys are planning for the mod community, support for that, the ability for gamers to get in there and get their fingers dirty.
Well, Dawn of War has always supported the mod community. In fact, some of the most amazing mods have been made by our modding community. One of the things, though, it's really difficult is the original Dawn of War engine was based on impossible creatures. It was built from the ground up to be moddable. Dawn of War is using the Essence engine from Company Heroes, and it was built from the ground up to be amazing, and it also turned out to be amazingly complicated. So we tried to release the mod tool for Company of Heroes to the mod team, but what it is, it's just, unless you're a professional developer with a large team, access to massive resources, it's just very, very difficult to mod. Hell, it's difficult for us to mod. So we just didn't think it was the best use of our resources to create a bunch of mod tools for an engine that probably just has too many bells and whistles, too many layers, and it's very hard to get into the inner workings of it. It just didn't make sense to build mod tools for that. So we decided to spend our resources just making an incredible campaign. And the final thing is, because we're kind of a game based on progression, we probably didn't think it would be awesome to open up mod tools and having people doing the Monty Hall thing, just giving everything away for free. So we still have our original engine that players can still mod, and still some really exciting mods coming out with it.
With Company of Heroes, what the mod community has mostly been focusing on is creating maps, multiplayer maps, and we've had contests with Company of Heroes and included them in later patches, and it's likely that we'll continue to do that in the future on the multiplayer side of things. The map editor, it is incredibly powerful and detailed, but it's not the easiest thing to use. Right? So it's likely in the future at some point we'll encourage that same type of behavior with Dawn of War.
How do you see the mod community in, say, 5 years from now, or even 3 years from now?
Well, I'll tell you, AAA games are getting incredibly difficult to make. Like I said, I just couldn't believe it when we went from Dawn of War to Dawn of War 2 when we inherited the Essence engine. It took 3 times as long to make a character. And I was like, how could it take so long? But there's just so many layers now, it's just so many new types of things and so many different types of lighting and lighting bells and whistles. The data is 2 orders of magnitude more complicated. And I think what it's going to mean for our modding community is I think a lot of their creative energy is going to be channeled to the kind of new and up and coming platforms like iPhone and Xbox Live Arcade. I think that's where a lot of your modders are going to be able to focus their creative energy. And what's really exciting, I think, for modders is they're finally going to be rewarded financially for their efforts. Whereas before, like for AAA games, you were just kind of rewarded with the other fans being impressed, which is cool.
Right.
But I think a lot of modders would ultimately like to be able to kind of make a living with their hobby.
I think those are really astute observations. You know, like especially with things like XNA and what Microsoft's doing on the platform, and just getting people that used to be in the mod community but now can actually make games in a really easy language, and like XNA and C#. So I think you'll see a trend in go towards that. And with the really high-end games and things we're making, it's, the tools are really difficult, and we have people take years and years of training to become artists or designers or programmers, and take years on the job learning how to leverage these tools. So it's tough to expect our fans in their basements to know how to do that stuff, right? So the mod communities, I think, are definitely going to go through a revolution over the next 5 years, as you suggested.
So one thing that we talk about a lot in our little circle of Gmod, and where we think is going to go also, is looking at games as a platform. You mentioned the iPhone; it's a great example of that. We think of platforms normally being hardware. We think of consoles in the PC and the iPhone and these kind of things where developers of all sorts can go in there and make content for those platforms. But games could also be platforms. A game can do a great system and a great architecture for that software. Then those mods, in a way, are built off that same platform. The problem, like you just said, right, is the financial reward for that, right? So how do you guys feel about that? I know you guys are the publishers for this, but as developers, do you see any time in the future where that might be a viable option, where developers that make mods, make full-on large-scale mods, can use that content and then republish that, like Steam does, like with Valve and some of their content they published out for you guys?
So like somebody doing the equivalent of Counter-Strike, or?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean that's everybody's dream. Like you have Defense of the Ancients, which is one of the greatest mods of all time. Same with Counter-Strike. So that's really cool. But if I'm not mistaken, every time it's been kind of monetized, it's been the owner of the platform, the software platform, actually buying them. If I'm not mistaken. So like Valve actually purchased like the Team Fortress 2 team and the Counter-Strike 2 team, and which kind of gets it kind of in the kind of fuzzy territory stuff. So that's kind of why I'm really excited about Xbox Live Arcade and iPhone and these simpler platforms where you don't get into that kind of gray area of like you're using something that we own and it's our livelihood to make something really cool. It's kind of generating its own phenomenon, and we're not totally cool with you making money off of that. I mean, as developers we're cool with it, but like publishers, they're the ones who are actually writing the checks at the end of the day. And you can't really blame them for that. It is their livelihood. It's how we pay the bills, right? So it creates that kind of just a lot of legal difficulties and stuff. And that's why I think these new platforms are so exciting, because it completely steps around that, right? Like Xbox Live Arcade is built for modders to make cool mods and have people come reward them for making a cool mod. Same with the iPhone. So.
There's really nothing to add on,
Yeah, I understand that. So, in addition to that, I guess, so you said they have the level editor that's available, is that right?
Yeah. Well, at some point in the future, it would be made available.
Okay.
Our game's got to come out first, so. Yeah.
How far after launch do you guys see that being released? Estimation.
It's really undetermined at this point. Like we wouldn't want to release anything until it's documented and ready to go. So, I think on Company Heroes it might have been 6 to 9 months before but I'm not making any promises.
Yeah, and it wasn't exactly the smoothest transition as we'd have liked. So if we do release mod tools, they expect support, right? And so we're only going to do it if we feel like we can do it right and give it the support it deserves.
And you guys always have in the past too, and we appreciate that as a mod community. So.
Well, the thing is, our mod community has created some really amazing stuff. We've just been floored. We play them internally, and we pass them around internally, and we think they're just amazing, talented group of guys.
Guys, thank you for the interview, and thank you from gmod.com.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks to all the fans. You guys are what made it worthwhile.